We are here live at Meetings with Masters with one of the most special people in my life, Ms. Nancy. Nancy, do you use Pentila Lemire, or do you just
I usually go with Pentila. Pentila Lemire is
Pentila?
like Facebook, whatever. I just kind of
Oh,
I don't
good to know.
I didn't take Luke's name.
Okay, so I will switch that. So Nancy Pentila is here with us today. She's an amazing healer, a beautiful soul. I am like beyond excited that she's here. This woman is filled with the most amount of love I've ever honestly like experienced. She is just pure heart and pure love. And we met, we met in Sedona last year in person, which was amazing. And so Nancy, thank you for being here. I'm so honored and grateful.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we've been trying to connect for so long, and I just love you so much. You're such a beautiful, bright light, and you're so full of love yourself. So that's why you see that in me, because it's in you, right? So,
right. That is that is actually one of the best topics that we can connect with here tonight. Seeing the love, seeing that within yourself, because you know that helps people really step beyond it when they start to see that within themselves, right?
That's right. Everything. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll get into that more. Yeah. So, but what I really, really want to know, Nancy, I want to start out I want to understand really where, when you and I met, you were having a retreat that I came to, which I was so excited for. So I didn't get to really hear your story and where you came from. So Nancy, right now you're coming to us from somewhere in Canada. Tell me where are you coming from in Canada?
We're like 8 hours north of Toronto, not flight wise, but driving wise. And we're in a remote area. It's called Timmins, but Shania Twain kind of put us on the map because she's from here. And Steve Sullivan, the hockey player. But yeah, we are far from everything, which I'm actually appreciating it more now than I ever have, because it's so small and remote, and it's like amongst nature. Like we have 500 lakes in our area. So I love it here now. I sometimes didn't appreciate it, I guess you could say, because we like to travel so much and we haven't been able to travel. So I've been embracing it more than I normally have. So it's been a good time.
That's awesome.
It's like an hour flight from Toronto though. So that's good. Thank God.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm guessing it's kind of cold up there already now.
Maybe. It's getting there. It's minus 2 degrees Celsius already. And yeah, we had frost this morning. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit early. Usually that's October, November. But
yeah. And so Nancy, did you grow up there? Is that where you grew up?
I did. I was born and raised here. Yeah.
And you wow, that's incredible. And you stayed there. And you raised your family there.
But I never thought I'd come back. But I came back mostly because my roots were here. Like I started my business here. And then when I left to go down south, after I went away for school and stuff, like for massage therapy and nursing and stuff like that. But I came back here mostly because my dad was like my bestie, and I couldn't imagine not being around my father. So, and my mother too, but my dad was like he was my bestie. He was totally like amazing. But yeah, he was awesome. And plus my clients, when I started my business here, they were sending me flowers and stuff when I had moved to London, Ontario, which was closer to Toronto. And so I only lasted there for like 6 months, and I came back just to be with my clientele here. So yeah, it was,
really?
Brought me back here. But then I met Luke, so it's a positive, definitely.
Incredible. And your husband. So tell us about what you do. And and then I know you connected with your husband, who's also a healer, but tell us about what you do.
I do a variety of things. I do ascension coaching, which will help to bring people to another level energetically and spiritually, and of course physically, like as a whole being. And I do a lot of energy healing with that, or I do energy healing sessions separately. I do hypnosis, NLP, a variety of reprogramming subconscious belief patterns, a variety of techniques for that. And I do Kundalini yoga, Hatha and Vinyasa. I'm an instructor of those, but my favorite is definitely Kundalini, as you know. So that I basically bring people back into wholeness so that they can ascend at a higher level and achieve what they wish in their lives, because people are often held back because there's an aspect of them that's been fragmented from their whole being. So like we have to be addressing our lives as whole beings in order to make it to the next level and to maintain that next level. And then to go to the next level, whatever you want to achieve, you have to be on a level of wholeness to maintain it and to thrive.
So. Right. Wow. And it's so incredible. It's like unfolding for me like every single day. So it's really beautiful. And what brought you to doing that? Like, why is that so important to you? Why, tell us why you do that.
Yeah. I want to help end suffering in the world. And
Yeah.
I guess because and I never really share my story. So this is like pretty much the first time, guys, that I'm going into any detail. I typically don't talk about myself. I'm with my clients and I help them, or, my friends come to me. So this is like one of the first times, Gina. So as a
Well, that's
child,
good
I
'cause that's
definitely
not
experienced some adversity. And yeah, definitely. Not compared to what I'm seeing today for some children, which is a huge passion for me to help to end that. But as a child, I was very, very sensitive, very empathic, very shy. And I was bullied a ton. Like, I never fit in school. I was always like, until I got a little older, then I got into more of the popular crowd, but I still always acknowledged the outcasts. I was always there for them. I always said hi. I always hugged them. I was just, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the adversity I had as a child to be able to acknowledge people for who they are on a soul level because of that. So as a
Mm.
child, being shy and being the oops of the family, like my mom, who's a beautiful, loving being, never had a filter. And so when I was a child, she told me that I was supposed to be aborted several times, like regularly. And because I was the oops, right? I was like my siblings were 10 years older and 13 years older. So as a child, I always felt like, very shy, very much like I didn't belong. Of course, my mom didn't realize, of course, my mom's a loving person, but no filter whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm totally fine with that now. But as a kid growing up, I do think that impacted me. But
Absolutely.
I also,
Right, but she didn't know any better. Yeah,
no,
sorry.
not at all. I love my mom. She's adorable.
Yeah,
Like, she'll tell people
yeah.
they're overweight and stuff. Like, my mom just doesn't have a filter, never has.
Got it. Oh
So
my
she's
gosh.
a beautiful, kind soul who helps homeless people and does all that stuff. So I get that part of her, and I love that about her. And that's part of what has infused within myself and Braden. And so it's been beautiful that way. We've learned a lot of good from her. But as a child, I also experienced a lot of sexual abuse. So I was about 4 years old. From what I remember, I was very small, and a friend of the family who did abuse me probably till I was about 7. But then my friends' stepfathers as well. There were a few of those. So, but I'm totally like, I'm grateful for that now because I'm able to help people because of it. But at the time,
Right.
I never spoke of it. There was a lot of shame and guilt. And I knew my father, who was my rock and my hero, would probably kill these people. So I never ever said anything. And you always think you're the only one that's ever experienced this. So the amount of shame, guilt, lesser than feelings, all that carried throughout most of my childhood. That was probably part of the shyness and everything else. And I do believe once you have that happen to you once, you definitely attract it. It's like an energy
Mm.
where you have more perpetrators, right? Because there's an energy about you that you've been how do you put it?
I don't
You've
know.
been
Violated, like somehow you're easily
violated.
violated or something. I mean, is it like
Yeah,
a
there's an energy with that because that's why it
Mm.
kept happening. And so then I was raped in my teens and stuff like that. I hope I elaborate first.
Sorry.
Some of this, but I don't like to hear all of it.
Sure.
But yeah, but I'm totally like, I've done a lot of healing and stuff. So it's been good. Like in my older years, I knew when I was becoming a mother, I had to do the work. I had to do the work to be the ultimate mother I could be. So I did a ton of work before I was even pregnant. But
Wait,
anyhow,
can I pause for 1 second because I want to say that any of the people watching, please share this. Like Nancy is sharing her story. She's not spoken of this before. Nancy is one of how many millions and millions of people out there that are abused and that have been abused. And Nancy is like our mutual friend Catherine Ann Wilson, who told the same kind of story that as a child with her abuse, that more of it came to her. And I didn't experience anything like it, so I can't speak to it. But why we need people to share this, because the more people hear this story, the more people are willing to share, the more that we can make it somehow stop. The more, right? The louder we are, Nancy, what happens? The louder we are. Yeah.
oh yeah, we bring awareness. Like
Yes.
that's why I've been kind of out there with it, not terribly, but I've always been passionate about helping to end this. Because as I got older and I started working with people, I went into the healing fields with all the energy healing and stuff like that. I realized just how common this is. Like, the majority of my clients have been sexually abused. Majority, some of them by their own fathers, their own family members. I never had that. So that's another level of it, I would think. But yeah, so I'm actually grateful that it happened to me, because I've been aware of it and look at me talking with my hands. I'm more French than my husband.
I'm Italian, so, I was talking
more French than I am. But
go on.
I've always been aware of it. So even when Braden was little, I was always very cautious about, where he played, where he slept. Like, he did not have a lot of sleepovers at different places. There were select places where the energy felt fine to me, because as you do energy work, you're very sensitive. I think most people, if they tune into their own sensitivity, wouldn't even have to be attuned to energy, Reikis and stuff. They would naturally feel that. You have to trust your intuition. Yeah. So I'm grateful that it happened to me, so that I could prevent it from happening to him. And like, as far as I know, he's been good. He's been in good places, but that was always a huge priority for me, because it does damage you, like the amount of shame and guilt, and lesser than, becoming a martyr in your life, a people pleaser. I did that for a lot of my life, and it's okay. Like, you learn, and I'm helping people to say no now to stuff, like, just always a full sentence.
Yes.
So I'm grateful for it, because I know it might sound weird to people that haven't even experienced it, or people that haven't dealt with it yet that have experienced it, but it is a gift in such a powerful way, where you can use that to help people. Like, you can have that empathy, sometimes you don't want the empathy, because look at, like, my throat, it's healing. Remember, I talked to you and Susan.
I do.
And like, I'll just fill you guys in. I had a talk with her and Susan Hum, Gina and Susan, last week. And a ton of people are sending me all this information about, the children that have been rescued, what they've been through, all the details of the trafficking and the pedophilia. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'd take it all in.
Take it on.
But I don't want to it's fun being empathic at this time. I'll just share that. It's like, woo. But you don't want to, like, share those details with everyone, because everybody's stressed enough. But then you want people to know that it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a real thing. Like, this is happening. Yeah. So I was keeping it in, and my neck has healed somewhat, but I did
so much better. Oh my gosh.
It was bad. It was bad when I met with you guys. But it's been so much better, because Susan told me that it's not my vibration to know the details and to share all this. Like, you can be a part of the solution without knowing details. So anybody out there who wants to make a difference with trafficking, with pedophilia, you don't have to know those details. It's really hard to take in. And most people are sensitive to that.
Yeah. Well,
you want to be the solution, and don't mind me. I've been today. I rushed.
Yeah, you look fabulous, and you've been through a lot. So going back, like, do you think, like, what was your teenage years? What were your teenage years like, and going into your 20s? Then how were you, experiencing the world as a result?
Definitely carried a lot of shame and guilt, and I attracted friends that were more narcissistic. Not to label, but they were. I did have some friends that weren't, though. Of course, tons of them that weren't. But there were the odd few that would take advantage, of course, being a martyr and a people pleaser, and boyfriends too. So I had a very possessive psycho boyfriend when I was 17 until I was 19. And he was like, I couldn't even say hi to people. It was ridiculous. Like, really, he was like so controlling. And then I dated someone after who, you just kind of, you want that love so badly. And he was like the ideal guy to me, but yet we're good, like best friends now, but oh my goodness, we would not have been ideal at all. But we're good friends now. But like, I was so crazy about him. I wanted love so badly. And I had love for my father, but then the love, the romantic love, you just want that love so badly that you will like disrespect yourself in some ways. Yeah. You're chasing that person or lowering your standards. So I was definitely involved in some unhealthy relationships. And then when I was in my 20s, I did date someone who was extremely emotionally abusive, extremely possessive, like an absolute crazy person. He was a sociopath for sure, and a psychopath. But like, I swear to God, I wouldn't be alive today if I would have stayed with him. So I was with him.
Did he charm you? He charmed you in.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were looking for love. You were craving the love.
Women loved him. Like, he was handsome. He was charming. He was funny, like to the extreme. And I love humor so much, so that I actually found him so incredible because of that. But then it was like, I couldn't take phone calls from family. I couldn't take many phone calls from friends. I couldn't go out with friends. Like, he was crazy. And when I was in massage therapy, then I was working as a massage therapist, and I had a very, very busy schedule. If I came home after 8 o'clock at night, which most of my clients, I would work till 8, he would think I was cheating with a client, like just a crazy person. And then one night he pulled such a psycho fit. Apparently he was on cocaine, and I was so naive. I didn't know anything really about drugs, to be honest with you. I was like kind of a nerd, not a nerd, but just not into drugs. Right. You know,
right.
Just nerdy, but I just, at that time, I had no idea what someone would be like on cocaine. And one night we had gone out, and he pulled such a fit because I was talking to people, and I'm social. Like, I love speaking to people, but he pulled such a fit that I left and I went back to my apartment. Well, he showed up there at 2 a.m, and he actually kicked down my big steel door of my apartment building. He kicked it down, and he came in there in a rage for hours. Like, it was like from 2 a.m. till 5 a.m. He tore apart my whole apartment. And it was a beautiful place. I was so embarrassed because I knew the landlord, but he slammed all my picture frames of all my family members and friends into the floor, damaged all the hardwood, pulled the French doors off my bedroom and slammed those and smashed them. And went on for hours. He was just crazy. And I had adopted this little puppy from the pound recently before that happened. And little Stuart, I named him Stuart. He was like this big. He was trying to protect him. And I was holding Stuart because I was scared he would hurt him. But then when he had pulled the French doors off my bedroom, I went in the bedroom with Stuart, and I laid on the floor thinking this was the end. Like, he was probably going to kill us, like, I wasn't sure. And I wasn't really warrior-like back then. Now I've developed a lot more strength, and, I own my power now. But back then I didn't. And he came in there and he poured his beer on us. And he said, "You're going to die tonight." And
oh my God, Nancy.
Like, really, like something possessed him, but it was cocaine, I heard afterwards.
Okay.
And then something happened. And this is where I experienced grace, probably for one of the very first times that I recognized it, being younger.
Okay.
I actually fell asleep in the lazy boy with his
beer. He
fell asleep.
After saying that you were going to die tonight.
Yeah. Something made him fall asleep. So it's like super fascinating. And I picked up Stewie, and I was in my pajamas, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's asleep. So I grabbed my baby, and I went to the door, and I was so scared. I was watching, and he was still out. I moved the steel door away so we could get out, and ran down the stairs. There was like 20 stairs out of this place. And I ran to the business around the corner, because this was like in a commercial area where my apartment was. And I hid there with the dog. Like, I was so scared, thinking he's going to come after us, and he didn't. Then I ran across the street to my car, and I got in my car, and I drove away. And it was like that song "Angel" by Shaggy came on. And I was like, oh my God, I'm free. Like, this was like the weirdest feeling ever. So I called one of my best friends, who almost disowned me from this, but didn't. She didn't really fully give up. And when I told her this happened, she was really happy and excited. So I drove away thinking, oh my God, we made it out alive. And so I called my brother to go and pack up my stuff to move out of the apartment, because my brother's a big, strong dude like my dad was. And but my brother's super protective. So I had to keep him away from the ex so that he wouldn't kill him. Because he was so upset when he saw the place. It was destroyed. Like, there was so much stuff. My brother knew there was something that happened.
How come you didn't call the police when you were in the middle of it? I mean, not to be, I'm just
tried,
how were you handling? Like, was he
the phone cord out of the wall? Yeah. So it was, he was crazy, but that's okay. Like, I've never done it. So that's why I love helping people now. And even talking about it now, I'm like, wow, like, it's just kind of like, it's a story, right? But that I did still keep in touch with him for a bit after, because I wanted to help him to heal and get over his drinking or whatever he was doing. And one day I went to the apartment where he was, and my brother followed me, and he like I snuck out the back. I was so embarrassed that I went there. And my brother was like ringing the buzzer to talk to me to get me out of there. And so I took off out of the back, and then the ex Ken, I'll just say his name. I used to call him Psycho. Ken's fine. Um, he called me and said, I'm gonna call the cops on your brother because he's buzzing my doorbell.
Oh.
He's looking for you, and I'm gonna say that he's harassing me. So I went to the police station, bawling my eyes out. This is how weak I was. I was crying. And I said, oh my God, my brother's such a good man. Please don't arrest my brother. Da, da, da. He's not doing anything wrong. And the cop looked at me and he said, I would do totally the same thing as your brother, if not worse. So I just want to ask you, what the hell are you doing communicating with a guy like that? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you could have somebody better. Like, so when I heard that from the policeman, I'm like, thank you. He kind of just woke me up from this nightmare. But then my family made me go to a women's shelter. So I went to a women's shelter for 3 days. My friends wanted me to go. And so I went there, but it was so enlightening to be there because I connected with these mothers that kept returning with their children to this women's shelter. The first night that I was there, I cried. I let everything out. And then the next day I woke up and I met these mothers who were living such a hell of a life, with these children that they had. And seeing the children and the mothers kind of just ripped my heart out. And I was like, wow, like, I'm not in a bad place. I can escape this. They're in a bad place right now because they keep coming back. They don't love themselves.
Yeah.
And one beautiful lady had 5 children, and one was super rambunctious, and she was a regular. She kept coming back there. So I told her one day, I said, you know what? Like, I'm going to babysit your little guy. You go off with your other children and take the day and just enjoy yourself, because the others were older and they were easier to be with. And so she left, went with them. And I brought the little guy shopping, and I got stuff to make a cake to celebrate life. I wasn't a baker, so I got like, I don't know, one of those box cakes.
Yeah, sure. Like Duncan Hines or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was Duncan Hines. And I'm like, or Betty Crocker. It was Betty Crocker. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to make a cake to celebrate life with these people, because I don't think they ever have celebrated their lives or themselves. So I got that and a spaghetti, all stuff to make a spaghetti and that. And I cooked that night and gave the staff a night off, made the cake. And my God, it killed me because a lot of those kids had never seen a birthday cake. So this was like a big deal. There were candles, and like a majority of them never saw a birthday cake. So
wow,
their lives. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these beautiful children have never celebrated their birthdays. So we celebrated their lives, and it was an amazing experience. I was so grateful for that, because there's just so much beauty in the darkness, really, when you think about it. Like, if you look at it in a certain way, right? So I stayed there for a few days, and that mother that I babysat her son, that woman, she was so beautiful. She came up to me and tried to give me her allowance money for the day, because the shelter would give you allowance money. But I had my own business. I was like, I don't need allowance money. Give it to her because she has so many kids. She tried to give me $5 for babysitting her son that day. Oh. And that just killed me. I was like, oh my God. So I ran her a bath. I didn't take her money. I ran her a bath, a bubble bath, and I washed her back, and I tried to help her, like, just to realize, and that's when I realized that, you can use your pain as your passion, your purpose. You can help others when you've experienced pain and lack of self-worth. And that's been like the biggest thing for me since then, to really try to help people to love themselves and to love others. Because like even my ex, I used to call him the Psycho years ago, but now I'm like, I know he's a hurting being, right? Like, he's vicious, but who knows why? Yeah. I don't know his system that well. So
right. He wasn't born that way. He's not likely to have been born that way. He was, we're all born to love.
Way. And so, I mean, that's a lot of detail. And then another thing that changed me, it was my father. My father, as I said before, it was my God, my dad was my light. He was just like the greatest person. Funny. He was just amazing. Such a light energy my whole life. And when he got sick, he actually got congestive heart failure. And that was when I was pregnant. And I started going for work with him out of town. Somebody was helping him, a healer, and he overcame the congestive heart failure. So that was miraculous, because he was so bad that he could hardly walk from the door to the vehicle. It was that bad. So that's how powerful energy healing can be, right? When your intention is right and when you recognize that you're only a conduit and God's the healer, then miracles really do happen. So he overcame that. And then when I gave birth to Brady, my parents would babysit a little bit when he got a little older and I went to work. And then one day my dad got run over by a guy who decided he pulled into a parking spot and decided he wanted to change parking spots and ran my dad over. So my dad ended up having to get hip surgery and stuff. And that was the start of his demise. That was like the actual, the start. And
how old was he, Nance? How old was he at that time?
78, I believe, at that time. He was like 78. And then a year and a half later, he was T-boned while my mom was driving. They were T-boned so badly. What? Yeah, some pizza delivery guy or whatever was running. He ran a red light and T-boned my parents. So my dad ended up getting the brunt of it and ended up in the hospital. And then he had a stroke and then he kept declining. So he was in the hospital for about 5 months. And then I was seeing him decline so much. His muscles atrophied dramatically because he would always say no to physio. And so I was like, oh, of course they're going to say, okay, no problem, because they get a break if they don't have to bring him for walks or whatever. So he had like no muscle left. So after about 5 months of that, I said, you know what? I want to bring him home because he's not getting better here. And I wanted him to be totally vegan. I would bring smoothies to the hospital to try to help him heal for those 5 months. But then they would always offer like the cake and all. He's not going to say no. My dad loved cake. My dad was like a chocolate freak. So yeah, he was so cute. But so we brought him home, and I'm so lucky to have the husband I have. Like, we had him for 2.5 years at our home in a hospital bed in our living room overlooking the river. We live on the river, so that was nice because my dad loved nature. And it was a gift to be able to care for him. It was like, like he was such a beautiful person, such a beautiful soul he is a beautiful soul. And we got to care for him for 2.5 years. And every morning he would light up when he'd see us. He just loved his family so much. His blue eyes would just sparkle. And he loved Luke. Luke was the only guy that he liked. My dad hated every guy that I ever was friends with or dated. Nobody was good enough for anything. He hated him. Luke was like his sweetheart. He loved Luke. Like, I swear he loves me even like he loves me because Luke gets a ton of signs from him. And I'm like, oh my God, you get more signs than I do. But anyway, he ended up passing away in our home, which was, it was actually like so peaceful how he passed. Like, we were always scared that he would pass in a way where he was choking to death or something because he couldn't swallow anything. So we always had to give him liquid everything with applesauce to thicken it because he was allergic to cornstarch. And Luke would make him drinks. Sometimes I didn't like my dad having a drink, but then Luke would make him like a rye and ginger with applesauce in it. My dad would be drinking one drink and out for the night. It was hilarious. So I was like, wow. And he went so peacefully that it was like a blessing, and he loved Frank Sinatra. So I played Frank Sinatra until all my siblings got to say bye to him. And I had him here till 4 a.m. and he passed about 9 o'clock. And it was like unreal how it was just so peaceful. And I'm so grateful for that. As hard as it was to grieve the loss of him because he was such a sweetheart, it was actually to be able to care for him. So now I tend to ramble, guys. So
no, you weren't rambling. You were just sharing, and I'm so honored and grateful because, I just want to acknowledge that all that you've come through is really. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine having to endure all that trauma as a child and to come out the light, the woman that you are. Like, literally, guys, this woman is. You are like pure light. It was like when I first met you, I was like, oh, she's just a ball of light, like floating around. Like,
so sweet. Well, I feel that way about you. You're amazing. You're so full of love. And I felt with you the second I hugged you. Little cute you. I'm like, I feel like this big butch. You're this cute, wonderful, gentle, sweet. You're amazing. I fell in love with you the second I met you. And we had such a beautiful retreat. I mean, everybody there was, wow. Like, I have such a soft spot in my heart for everybody that attended that last retreat. That was the last one we held in person. So it was special.
Wow, really? That was, oh, well, gosh, I feel so special then that we were part of it. That was so,
Um,
I mean, and we'll talk about that, the fact that you were able to transcend all that you've been through to become this healer, like
um,
that you are, because it was like, when was the point where the healing work became part of you? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, where you knew, like, I know for me, it was right after my daughter died. I started to get on the path immediately. Like, where was the moment that you recognized it was really going to make an impact in your life for your own healing, and that you could then do it for others?
I guess, the biggest thing was, yeah, I've always like wanted to help people to love themselves. I've always, even the friends that were narcissistic, I always wanted them to go within. And as a teen and everything else, I was always trying to get them to see their inner beauty, even though they were beautiful on the outside, they had to go inside, and a lot of them wouldn't. And, it just always bothered me. But I guess when I started taking courses for it was really when Luke's uncle got diagnosed with lung cancer years ago. And so Luke took all these courses with me. And I think that's why he's such an amazing chiropractor and he achieves such miraculous work with people, is because he is tuned into all of this. Like, he's very intuitive, and I'm so grateful for him. I can't even describe. Like, I couldn't have had a better husband. Well, I still have him.
Well, you still do, but tell me about that real quick, like, because that came before, right? So where did you guys meet? Because your energy has to line up where that you really meet, and you guys are like, I mean, I experienced it, and you're amazing. So.
Thank you. Well, we're not perfect. We're like any other couple. We have stuff. But
yeah, of course.
We definitely, like, it's funny how we met, because he's so opposite of what I was normally attracted to. I usually like the jockeyed guys, that were cockier and, pretty buff. And my husband's like very slender and very gentle. And it's funny because we met, this is weird because you probably know the story. I think we talked about it at the retreat possibly, so it might be redundant, but we kept hearing about each other all the time. And when I was doing massage therapy back in the day full time, I had this chiropractor who Luke was going to work with. He was a renowned chiropractor in our hometown. Like, everybody loves Gilles Lamarche. And he's gone on to do bigger things. That man is really quite incredible. But anyway, he kept talking about Luke, and Luke's coming to work with him, and I need to meet Luke. And I was like, oh God, just because I'm single, like, and he's a chiropractor and I'm a massage therapist. So cheesy, right? How cheesy is it that people think we will be aligned because of our professions? That's what I kept thinking. And everybody kept coming up to me. Strangers were coming up to me and to him, talking about him to me and
Putting it
me to him, like, everywhere. And we've never experienced that. It was like strangers coming up. It was the weirdest thing. So I was like, this is so weird. So then when I was out one night with a friend of mine, she had a breakup. So we went out dancing, and she said, oh my God, there's Luke Lemire. You need to meet him. And I'm like, oh my goodness, seriously? Like, I keep hearing this for the past month. This is ridiculous. So she brings me over to him to introduce us. And I'm like, like, not my type whatsoever. And not that he was ugly or anything. It was just not, he just wasn't my type, which is good.
Right, what you had in your mind was your type, right?
Yeah, and I kept going for the wrong types, right? Like the emotionally unavailable, cocky dudes, right?
Yeah.
So I meet him, and I'm like, oh, nice, like, nice to meet you, whatever. And then it was so funny. So one of my best friends, this guy Steph, he's someone I dated, but we decided we're better off as best friends. It just wasn't there. And he said to me one day, he said, oh my gosh, I want to set you up with Luke Lemire. And I'm like, oh no, he's so not my type. And he's like, no, I really want to set you up. He's such a good guy. And I said, I'll go as friends to this. He wanted to go to a comedy dinner thing with a bunch of couples. And I said, I'll go as friends, but do not let him think this is a date. It's so not a date. He's not my type. So we go to this comedy dinner with like 6 other couples or something. And we're all sitting there, and, it was a good show, whatever. But I was like, I had to work at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and I'm like, whatever. It was Friday night. And so I told them, like, we went for a drink after the comedy dinner. And then I said, okay, I have to go. I have to work at 8. So have a good night. Thanks a lot. And the next day he showed up at my clinic, and he brought lemon meringue tarts, because I told him I like lemon meringue pie, but I don't bake. I'm not a baker or whatever. And so he made those himself, apparently, and brought them to my clinic. And I saw the note and I'm like, oh God, because I was in session. I hadn't even session at the time. And I'm like, oh no, oh God, I don't want to lead this guy on, right? So I'm not going to call him. I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to give the tarts to all my clients. And I was like, and then I started to feel so guilty that I didn't call him, but I called him a week and a half later or whatever. And I told him I lost his number, which we have so many mutual friends, and I could have easily contacted him. And so anyway, then I felt so bad. I said, let's go for a walk around the lake. So we did. And I thought, oh, why don't I ever like nice guys? He's so nice. Didn't even try to kiss me. Nothing. Just a nice person, right? So I'm like, he's funny. So I said, let's walk around the lake again. So we walked around again. And then that's when he grew on me. He totally grew on me. And like I fell in love with his soul. He has such a nice soul. And he's funny, and he's really funny.
Like, he is funny.
He's so funny. He's insanely funny. And then we created Braden. So, well, God created Braden, but we were part of the recipe. I guess that's why we kept getting the messages about dating one another, because Braden was meant to be created. And
for sure. Yes. And your son is amazing. And he's what, like 13 now? 13, 14?
Well, oh my God, he's 12. And I'm like,
well, he's 12. So yeah. Well, we didn't even get to him yet, because I'm glad you shared about, how you and Luke met, because you and I, we really do, like, in the literally in this love field, we are connected so deeply. And I really believe that, because you are such love, and like, but that you also, with all that you went through, that you were able to, like, let go and bring love into your life, and like true love, real love. Like I see it in you guys, and you guys are both amazing. And I know that we're all, that we were all meant to be connected, and you exude, you just exude love. And so the fact that you guys both made this amazing son, who also is just like, so like just completely just, he just exudes love too. And he's just bright and brilliant and writing books and like doing things with like incredible people, as you guys are, which I won't, let you share what you want. But I mean, part of what I want people to hear too is that no matter what we go through, like the more that we can like really, really like let go of the past and recognize that things happen for us. As hard as that, we have both had it. You have had hard. I've had hard. We've had, things that have like, insanely, people have had way worse than both of us, honestly, too. But that it can eventually transcend into this gift, for sure. If you take it and turn it into the gold, and take what you've been through and turn it into the gold, and turn it and become the love out of it, right? That you want to see in the world, and share the stories, right, with others, so that you can make that impact. And
that's
everything.
Yeah, love is everything. It really is. Once you can love your soul. I mean, we have to get past our physical being and love who we are as a soul level. Like, we are so divinely innocent at a soul level, and we are not responsible for what's happened, what people have done to us or for us, however you want to say it. You have to know that you're not to blame. And, I have sisters that, they're twins, and oh my gosh, Gina, like their lives are so ruined because they had that one friend of the family abuse them till they were teenagers. And they are finished. Like, they have never had good lives. And I used to feel guilty. Oh, their lives are like, people can't even believe we're related, because they have let their lives just become nothing, basically. Like, they have children that are amazing, that have a lot of stuff going on. I've helped them a little bit, but yeah, it's like
they're like 10 years older than you, 11 years older, 12 years older.
13 years. Yeah, my sisters were twins. They were premature, but then they were babysat a lot by that friend of the family. And I can't even describe their lives. Like, their lives are pretty brutal. Their sons and their daughters are all messed up. Except, well, they're not messed up bad. Like, they're just carrying a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to help them. They're kind. They are so empathic and loving, these kids. And actually, one of them had a suicide attempt almost 2 years ago. December 2 years ago. Yeah, you know about that.
I remember you telling me.
He's such a humanitarian. It's insane how sensitive they are. They're so beautiful and loving and empathic, even though they had horrible lives. Like the men that these women married, like one of them would threaten their lives all the time, threaten to kill the family, and one of the brothers is severely disabled with cerebral palsy. Like doesn't walk or talk. He crawls. He's 32 years old now.
Aww.
So they live like a really messed up life, but I love them as much as possible that they let it in. But my nephew he's the humanitarian that had the attempt. He actually used to, like, he made huge money because he had his own company with oil in Edmonton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Alberta, sorry, not Edmonton. But he had a company and he would make like $60,000 a month. But what would he do with that? He would go feed people. He'd travel the weeks that he had off. He'd go feed people all over the world, pay for kids' cleft palate surgeries. He would give money like you wouldn't believe. He's so beautiful and sweet. So he ended up going to Cuba regularly. He became friends with some of the locals there. And he would go down the same street, handing out tons of money to people that were in poverty, feeding them, doing everything he could to inspire them. And the locals there set him up so that he would fall in love with this girl. And I see now that she was probably trafficked by her family. Beautiful, gorgeous thing. But he fell in love with her and wanted to rescue her and her family. And so he married her. She proposed to him. He married her 2 years ago, like this month, and married her in Cuba, had a honeymoon and everything. Like, he's like this loving thing who has never been in love before, fell in love with her. And I shouldn't call people things. It's just weird. It's an energy, right? So
I know. It's okay. It's okay.
So he fell in love with her, but she didn't love him. She's not capable of love. And her family would threaten him because he would go back to work in Alberta. He had to work certain weeks and then go back and whatever. And they said they were connected to Hell's Angels, and they would kill his mother and disabled brother.
Oh my God!
If he didn't keep giving money, all of his money.
Oh,
so he gave him all of his money because he was so terrified that his family would get killed. And they just, apparently this is common. So he ended up early December 2 years ago trying to take his life. He slashed his wrists, and he wasn't bleeding out fast enough, and people were driving by on this deserted road where he was. And then he slashed his throat. And he thought, take myself out, my family will be safe. I need to die. Right?
Yes.
So the weirdest thing is about this is so divine. One of my clients who is very suicidal and he was depressed at the time got a message from God. And I swear it's from God that messaged him.
Of course. Oh my God.
Yeah. And told him he had to go down this road. It was 12:30 at night. And he went down this road and saw my nephew. Like, he saw my nephew had a BMW SUV, saw that and thought, this is a drug dealer with that kind of car.
Right.
In the snowbank, lying there, he's like, this is a drug deal gone wrong. This is what it must be. But he got out and he saw him bleeding out. Like, he said his life force was barely left. Like, he was looking at his eyes going, oh my God, this guy's like dying. I have to call it 911. So he called 911, called his mother, and arranged that, he'd wait in his truck until the ambulance got there, because you never know, like, whoever did this could have killed him, right?
Yeah.
So he waited there, and the ambulance came in within a few minutes, and it was my favorite paramedic that I know. I love this paramedic. He's an angel. He's like this big giant who has the biggest heart in the world. He came there, he helped him, and then the doctor at the hospital was like the most miraculous doctor that I know, helped him to survive. He was on life support and survived this whole ordeal. He had to be flown out of Timmins because, like, where we live is isolated. So he had to be flown to a real hospital where they had the help for him. And it was the weirdest thing. I drove with my mother to go out of town to be where he was, and there were 11 angel figures in the sky. And 11 is my favorite number. My dad always communicates with 11. I know it sounds weird. People aren't open.
Oh, no. 11:11. I always catch it when it's 11:11. I always catch the time. Yeah. 1:11.
11 angel figures. And my mom is not much of a believer. Saw the 11 figures, not me, because I was driving. And she goes, oh my God, Nancy, look at the 11 angels. And I'm like, oh, so he's going to survive. And he did. So we got there, and
Wow.
He honestly, like, if anyone's considering suicide, he actually said that his soul, he told me this, not anybody else, because he knows I'm open to things. His soul actually experienced hell while he was on life support because he interfered with the plan. He interfered with the contract, the soul
Because he
contract,
tried to
and
kill
his
himself.
soul hurt. Yeah. His soul went to
Wow.
hell and he's being tortured in hell. Like there was heat, there was screaming, there was fire. Like he said, it was terrifying. So if anyone's considering suicide, you don't want to do that because your soul could be stuck there.
Oh
And
my God. So people who experience like near-death experiences, which you hear about those, and I have heard
yeah, for them,
like
it's like, it's not that they caused it, so they don't experience hell. He said he went to hell. And so he never tried again, even though he went through the dark night of the soul for so long. Like he ended up staying at my other nephew's cottage, isolated. He wanted to be alone, no alcohol, no CBD oil, nothing like that. He didn't want to alter his state. He wanted to feel everything and heal. Wow. Like his journey was insane. He should write a book, but
Oh, he will one day. Maybe he will one day. I mean, that's,
yeah,
that's powerful when you want to, feel everything and heal and like not self-medicate. Like that's brave. Like, that's really, it's like, okay, I just got to get through it because now I'm here, right? Like I'm here and I have to get through this and then everything can be okay. You just have to
and you can get through it. He's in a beautiful place now. He's in a beautiful place. He's investing with people. He's got a new career because his arm's never been the same since he slashed his wrist. He can't do the work he used to do. He's a diamond driller before and had a company with that, but now he's doing this. So he's like, you got to work through the pain. You need to feel to heal. So if anyone needs to do that today,
yeah,
you can make it. You can make it.
You can make it, and you have people like Nancy here who can help you, and she's an incredible, amazing healer. I mean, her and I could talk for hours, but we won't do that. but really, something I want to leave, like, sort of wrap things up. We'll tell everybody how to find you. But one of the biggest things, and which is what I'm, doing so much of now, it's the self-healing work is paramount. You have to look at yourself and find the self-love.
Yeah.
Love and like being like, so I've been mentoring with Susan and working as a love coach and coaching, but it's loving yourself first.
Yes.
You gotta get out of your own way, love yourself first, take down the walls so that you can allow more love in as you become the truth of who you really are, right?
Absolutely.
Live your truth. And when you go through those dark nights of the soul or whatever, and they start to uncover, you can start to uncover the real you. Please look in that mirror and really reflect on the real you and what you really want and where you want to be. And you can continue, you can really get to the other side. Right, Nance? And
absolutely.
And not without help. Like, honestly, like I wouldn't without the help of others, like coaching.
We need that connection.
The tribe, the personal development work, like the decision though within myself to say, I am not going to self-medicate. I am going to self-heal. I'm going to self-heal. I'm going to heal. I don't know what that looks like. It's going to take time, but I'm going to heal. But that was my choice, right? And and energy healings, like I did everything, like shamanism. I did Reiki healing. I became a practitioner of angelic Reiki and this kind of Reiki and all of those, and I believe in that to the fullest. And I believe in the
beautiful.
Susan she always laughs. She goes, Gina, you're, because I was like, I'm meditating. And then she's like, no, Gina, go magicate. So that's like a favorite. And I'm like, you know what? I actually
love it. It's true. It's true, right?
And like, you know what? That's we sort of came up with that word one day, and I'm like, it's true. Like it is magication. Like I am magic. Like
that needs to be your word together. You need
that
to
is totally my word. Magication, baby. It is. So
that is so true because it is magic when you connect to your soul, right? It's so important. It's everything. People need to develop more faith. We need to connect to a higher power. We need to connect to Christ consciousness. We need to believe again. We need faith. Like we've lost our prayers in schools. Like I don't know if the Pledge of Allegiance, like some are including God, some aren't. Like you need to look at that because the ones that aren't, like that's scary stuff. And there's a lot going on with the human trafficking, with pedophilia. It's huge, as John Paul Rice said, right, in his interview. He knows. And It's huge. And that's why, I look at people that have been through so much like that. And I'm like, wow, those kids, a lot of them have been raped like 6,000 times in their lifetime.
Oh,
Like
my whole body just like
what
quivered.
happened
Said that.
to me?
It's true.
Nothing. It's so nothing compared to that. Like, not that we need to compare,
No,
but you know what? It's good to have experienced some of that so that you can help, but you can help if you have an open heart. You don't have to have experienced
that's
that.
right.
But I mean, there's always somebody way worse off. Like, we can pity ourselves and victimize ourselves. It's not doing anything. We need to find solutions. We need to work on ourselves so we can help others. And we need to come together. We can't divide.
We cannot divide. We no this right. And thank you for bringing this all up, because I do want to make sure we tap into this, because we do need to unite in love, like really, really elevate love consciousness. And that is my absolute focus. Like working with people like you, elevate love consciousness, like starts with self-love, starts with, like looking at what you can do differently, looking at the solutions to help love, like let children need to feel loved. They need to know that they are loved. It's going to start with that parent finding self-love for themselves.
Yeah,
because then everything. They can be a better person and a better parent and a better, Absolutely. And just love. Don't promise, like, don't just be the love. Don't like make promises you can't keep. Don't, these are all, but it's important because we're in such a transition in humanity right now. And there's and it's the pedophilia, like bigger than I could have ever imagined, the human trafficking bigger than I could have ever imagined, but it's real.
So much bigger. Like, this is so massive. And I know they don't talk about it on the news and the mainstream media. It is massive. It is so massive. Like, there's a reason.
So Nancy, yeah. So like, if you could take like a couple minutes and just talk about that, like what people could do, to help that, because it matters. Again, we have to be loud and share about it so that we can make the impact of, because if we keep quiet, then we're letting those people who are doing it to children keep taking over and keep harming and abusing and murdering and more children. And we have to, so tell me like a couple of things, because this is something I know you're super passionate about.
Well, I shouldn't say obsessed, but I am. I think about it a lot. Like I said, my throat chakra.
But don't take it on. We're going to talk about solutions, like, right?
I've taken it on, like self-sabotage, like Susan Hum said. And it's so true. She's an amazing coach too. Like, you guys are incredible people. Like, you made a difference in that one call for me. And I coach people that you need coaches. You need coaches. I don't care if you're a coach. You need help with that, be it for yourself, because we often preach, but we don't take it in ourselves. We're not often thinking of ourselves. But yeah, you know what the biggest thing is? Like, you can donate. Take the awareness course through Operation Underground Railroad. There's an awareness course through, like, for trafficking.
That's good to know.
Certified with that, to know the signs of trafficking. I mean, there was a stewardess on a flight who apparently followed her intuition. She knew that there was something wrong. There was a girl with a man. She's a young girl, and she had a feeling there was something wrong. This girl was not speaking, and the man was speaking for her and stuff like that. So she left her a note in the bathroom. When she was going to the bathroom, she saw her getting up, left her a note saying, "If you need help, let me know." And so she did. She said, "Yes, I need help." And so the police were called. And when the plane landed, it's amazing intuition.
They were there.
The police were there, and they arrested this trafficker, and they rescued the girl. So, yeah, it's so beautiful. Like, I love stuff like that. But there's not enough.
Like that, right. There's not enough of it. Like that. That's
not enough. We need the biggest thing is we need to connect to our Creator. Like, we need to connect to our Christ consciousness, we need to connect. We have to connect to the higher powers that will help with our intuition, knowing how we can make a difference. And it's not all monetary. If you don't have money to donate to Operation Underground Railroad, you can pray for them, but you have to pray with conviction from your heart, with reverence from your heart to God, to Jesus. Like, I know I might sound nuts. I don't go to church, but I do believe. Like, the healing that I do, I don't do it. I'm a conduit. That's it. I've been doing healings for almost 20 years. Jesus does a healing as the light does a healing as God. And I don't know if that sounds crazy, but explore that. That's all I can say. And I help to guide people to that with the ascension coaching, because to me, faith is everything. It really is. See, that's when you see miracles. You see miracles in other people's lives, but you see them in your own life too. And prayer is so powerful when it's with reverence from your heart. So if you don't have monetary ways to donate, and I know right now it's hard for a lot of people, pray. Pray and ignite your own light. Recognize your own divinity, and you'll recognize it in others, and it'll stop the division. I mean, I'm guilty of sometimes being like defensive with people when I put a post about Trump or something where I'm like, he's helping to end trafficking. He is, I'm sorry. But people don't.
And right? Like, why are you sorry? Like, people.
Why don't you like it? He has a peace agreement with a bunch of Arab countries it's happening right now. We're bringing peace upon the earth. He's cut out big pharma. Like, people to get insulin now in the States, they pay $35 a month. They used to pay $600. Cutting out big pharma, so it's for the people. They can afford healthy groceries. Like, they can afford their rent. They're not ending up homeless because of big pharma. Like, there's so much good happening in the world. But I do believe it's beyond Democrat or Republican. This is a spiritual war between light and dark. And darkness is being brought to the light. The veil's being lifted. So, I'm not going to make this political. I'm not, because that just causes further division. And we need to be one humanity who's for God, who's for the light, who's for Jesus, who's for the good, the greater good. That's what we need. And the biggest thing you can do, guys, is pray. Pray with conviction. Pray with reverence. Oh my God. I'm not like,
no, it's okay. And like, we together right now, me and you, Nancy, we can like say a prayer right here, right now, for the greater good of humanity, to seriously please come together, and like the light and the love that is present to all of us. Like, we need to recognize the love within each and every single one of us, that we all have it, and that we can bring it back to the children, to everyone, and like share it out in the world, because the rest, we really need it. The world needs it right now.
We need it. That needs to be
more than ever.
It's not political. It's not Democrat, Republican, although it can make a difference. It can be easier to practice whatever religion you are to vote for a certain party, because you have freedom to do so. Freedom may be compromised with a certain vote, but I'm not saying. Just saying, could make an impact, but eventually the light will win. Eventually it will.
It's happening. We might go, most of the friends in our world that are very, deeply connected and can see things that we can't see right now. A lot are saying, we're going to go through a lot more suffering, and we're going. So that's why the prayers are needed, and we need to keep it going.
And you need to know that
you're not in the light. Yes,
stay in the light. You're not alone. When you connect with source energy, you connect with that God energy, whatever. Like, I use God, I use Jesus, but if you are uncomfortable with that, start with source energy, start with light energy, but do not allow the darkness to impede you. Do not allow those forces to impede you, because they have impeded our earth and our humanity for so long. And that's why there's this pedophilia issue. They're trying to normalize that. Like, how can you normalize pedophilia? It doesn't make sense.
No,
not at all. So think about that.
That is outrageous. Like, that is not, there's not even, that's just utter insanity. So there's no.
That is insanity. So we need to be in the light and recognize the innocence in our children and in ourselves. As well. You're innocent as well. Your soul is innocent. If you've made mistakes, we all have. So what?
We all have. That's human. That's human. We all have. But you don't have to. You can recognize that and say, okay, but I can do better now. I can do better now. I can wake up every single day and do better and be better. Yeah. And make the world a better place.
Yeah. Be in the light first thing in the morning. And when you feel stressed, be in the light. Pray with the light. Like, pray to source, pray to God, pray to Jesus, whoever you believe in.
Yeah.
Pray and allow that light to flow through you and take over and guide you, because you are the light. You are.
Yeah, we all are. And you know what? It's like, who do you surround yourself with? You can also call someone who is light.
Yes, absolutely.
That's somebody that you know has your back, and somebody that you know believes in you, somebody that you know has faith in you. And if you need that person, if you need that light infused in you, reach out to that person or people or what have you. Like, that is why we have a tribe, a community of people that we know at any given moment. And thank you for, Tony Robbins bringing so many of us together. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Tony is, oh my gosh, like you get a hug from that man. It's like,
oh, I haven't yet. I got a high five. I haven't gotten a hug yet, but I will.
You have to have a hug from that giant. He is so amazing. He's not only beautiful, like to look at and to feel his energy. He is like, oh my God, he hugs you and you're just like, that's crazy. Like,
well, I did hug his wife, and she's amazing. So, but honestly, Nance, the energy that you gave me in our time together is just as beautiful as I could get from anyone else on this earth. So thank you. Like, I want to just I just want to hug you so much right now. I love you. I want everybody to know that, like, please, Nancy does these incredible healings. She is a healer. You can do work with her virtually, right, Nance?
Absolutely. I'm just a conduit. I allow the highest source to come through. I'm not the healer, but I know you gave me a lot too at the retreat, honey, by the way. Like, oh my God, your hugs and everything. Just saying, Gina's amazing. But yeah, God goes through all of us, right? And you don't have to be religious for that. That's our creator. And
that's right.
It's just, it's amazing. Whoever you resonate with. Yeah.
Yeah. Just right. And then stay in the light and
and
do good and always do your best and love. And
love is everything. Just like everything. Even if you're stressed or you're feeling anger towards someone, just reciting love under your breath or in your head is so beautiful. And it helps to raise your vibration. Just reciting love. Just love. Like, it's amazing how that changes your energy. So you can empower yourself in so many simple ways. Yeah.
It's so cool how I can't hang up because I just love you. But, like when we come together as the community that we are in a world of when we go to a Tony Robbins event or any event, and like I meet people, men, women, doesn't matter. I'm like, I walk away. I love you. I'm hugging you. I say, I love you. I love you. I really mean that, because as a soul who is a loving being, I love you, and I want to elevate the love in you. Like, that's what I want. Who I am. I want to elevate the love and the light in anybody that I connect with. And I think that we all, can do that just by living from our heart and being conscious and loving consciously. Right.
Exactly. And Tony's events really do exude that. I have to say, like anything Tony Robbins does, any events, I'm missing those right now, because seeing you guys and just connecting with that beautiful high vibration of love, you feel it there. Like, I've been to a ton of events, like tons. I don't even want to name the people because I don't want to say they're lesser than, but Tony's events are seriously higher vibration. Like, there's that pure love. It is like anyone you meet there. Huge.
It's really remarkable. I'm super excited and honored that I get to go to an unblinded event this weekend. So I'm like, yay, I'll get to see some of my people. I get to see some of my people. Yeah. So some of those people, I'm feeling super excited to get that energy, So, but I can't wait to see you in person again, Nancy. I want to make sure people can find you. Like, I will post your websites all on your Facebook page, correct?
Yeah, I have more information. So, but they can, I'll send you my information and then they can just contact me that way. But
do you want to just tell me? I'll type it into the chat. Do you want to, is it up to you?
Because they say websites are dead. We've been following Russell Brunson for so long that our website needs to be rebuilt, and it is right now. We've had funnels. But if you need to contact me, you can contact me at hipyogini11@gmail.com. So it's HYP. YOGINI 11.
Of course, it's online.
Yeah, we're rebuilding. We're just kind of we've had funnels. Like, we have more funnels that we're putting out. We're actually we're working with Jeff Walker right now. We're starting his course. You might like that, or anybody who's launching something. Jeff Walker's so great to PLF Live. So it starts Monday. So the registration closes tomorrow night. So if anyone's launching any services or programs, you might want to try Jeff Walker. He's so good. He's such a sweetie, so genuine. Oh my God, I love that man. And he's friends with Tony too. He's a darling. Yeah.
Oh,
People have amazing results with his launch formula. So
okay. Well, you'll have to keep me posted on that. I will be. Thank you so much, Nance. I love you. Thank you guys all so much for watching, for sticking with us. Let's like elevate love consciousness in the world with people.
Yes.
Surrounding ourselves with people like Nancy.
Oh, like you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bless you all. Love you.